Okay, so here we are at TinkerCAD in the Module Lab, and if you click here on Activity 1, it talks a little bit about CAD. You probably already watched this little introductory video, and here is a link to the TinkerCAD site. So I'm going to show you a few tricks and tips you can do. I'm going to click on TinkerCAD. And it looks like it already had me logged in. I'm going to log out just for you to see what it would look like that first time you log in. Should be something like this, okay? Flat is boring. It'll have the TinkerCAD logo here in the corner. And you're going to click here where it says Sign In. Do not use your email to sign in. I repeat, do not use your email to sign in. Down here, I know it's kind of small, but it says sign in using social providers. And since I already have my Gmail, my Rocky Hill Gmail open over here, I'm going to click sign in using social providers. Come on now. And Google is one of those providers. So just by clicking here, it's going to kind of shake hands with my Gmail and log me in, and as I do projects and activities and such, it will remember what I've done, and it will always take me back to where I've been. It'll save all my stuff automatically. Oh, by the way, it's all free, which is pretty nifty. And you can see that throughout the past few years, I've made all sorts of stuff here. If you're starting brand new at this, you won't have a whole bunch of things in your recent designs. But let's click on Create a New Design. And this is what TinkerCAD is going to look like for most of you. Okay, you're going to have a work plane here. This is where all the work actually happens. One of the first things you'll notice here is that you have some very strange name, Fantastic Robo-Biggery, which makes no sense at all. They're just nonsense words usually, or a bunch of words put together in such a way that it means nothing. Right away, you want to rename this. So I'm going to say Mr. Pat's Demo. And yours might be, you know, Susie's Activity 4 or Joey's Round Box, Cylinder Box, something like that. But either way, you want to name it right away, okay? And so I've got this work plane here. I can use this guy here to kind of move it around and get to see all over the place, which right now is kind of interesting. But once you put an object on there, it will always make it a little bit easier to understand. The home position always takes me right back to there, which is called an orthographic view. We can zoom in on things. We can zoom out on things. I can also do that with the roller on my mouse, which is pretty handy. I can use my right-click button. If I hold my right mouse button down and move it around, it allows me to rotate all around and do all sorts of things. So that's my work plane. Over here on the right, you should have basic shapes. I'm just going to grab a box and drag him over here, okay? And I can change things about the box here, all sorts of different characteristics. But for the most part, I'm really not that worried about it. Here, once again, I'm going to zoom in using my roller and zoom out using my roller. I'm going to zoom in using these arrows. I'm going to zoom out using that. I'm going to click on this home position, and it brings me right back to there, where I'm kind of looking at it from ahead. I'm going to grab the dice up here in the corner and roll it around so I can look at the bottom. I can look at the top, left. And sometimes as you do this, you do get confused and discombobulated. So being able to click home and have it take you right back to that original position is pretty sweet. Okay, I'll zoom in a little more. There's my cube. One thing we want to do, if you click on these guys here, on these little, what we call handles in the corner, these little squares, which I'm sure you're familiar with from other apps you've used. When you click on them, you'll see the little dimension boxes here. Now this says 20, which tells me I'm a little suspicious there. I'm going to click over here where it says Edit Grid. Aha, it's in millimeters. Now, I live in the United States, so I'm going to switch it to inches and click Update Grid. And now when I click on those, it's going to give me a fraction of an inch. Although, if I type in 0.75 inches, it automatically made it a fraction, 3/4 of an inch. And maybe I'll make this 0.5 inches, and that makes it a ½ inch. And I'll make this, we'll say 1. Oops, got to make sure it's highlighted there. 1. So now I have a 1 inch high by 3/4 inch by ½ inch, kind of a rectangle cube box sort of a thing going on there. All right. Another thing you might know is when you click on things, oops, let me move this a little bit. When you click on things, see this little black arrow that's kind of almost like a little party hat, like a birthday hat on the thing? That guy allows you to lift it up or down, straight, wherever it's living. So that's kind of a neat tool to know about. Right now, part of that's below my work plane. There it would be if I'm looking straight at it. You can kind of get that sense of there. And I can pull this guy up. And you can kind of see there's dimensions down there. It's telling me that I'm 1/8 of an inch below the surface of that work plane. Drag it up until it's at 0, which means it's totally flat there. So just a bunch of different things that are going to allow you to maybe move things around a little bit easier, label things. As I said, you want to make sure that you name things. You want to make sure your grid is in inches, okay? You want to click on your thing and make sure that you're able to change some dimensions here. Just practice clicking on some of those and changing the numbers there. They can stay in decimals, but when it's an easy decimal to move to a fraction, they'll move it to fractional. Practice moving it up and down, play around with your dice here, and just kind of get a feel for how you move objects around and how you manipulate things in this world. You're going to be spending a lot of time here. Home is always your friend. It brings you right back to where you started. And yeah, you know what? That's probably enough for right now. And you're going to watch another tutorial another teacher made that's going to go into some details. Some of those details are things you might not even use, but it's always good to at least be introduced to a lot of information about a new app when you're learning how to use it. So you can start this, and when you think you're done, you can see your teacher to get signed off and move on to number 2, where you'll begin doing some videos that are instructional that will show you some very good tips. And then you'll do some interactive tutorials where if it says, make this thing larger, you'll actually make this thing larger. If it says duplicate this thing, you'll actually duplicate this thing. And you'll find a combination of videos and tutorials are going to give you the skills you need to actually build the projects. And you'll probably be building 4 or 5, maybe even 6 projects before this module is over. All right, enjoy and have fun tinkering.